Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Joe the Juggernaut Joyce has advanced to 8-0 after stopping Bermane Stiverne in round 6 of their fight at the O2 in London. This is the post-fight review, so no footage. So Joyce, this was a pretty dominant performance, a one-sided beatdown. Very entertaining at times. He hurt Stiverne on multiple occasions. In the end, it was waved off in the 6th round. Stiverne couldn't answer the shots that Joyce was raining in. There was about half a dozen heavy shots. Stiverne didn't protest the stoppage from referee Howard Foster, and Joyce advanced to 8-0. So he's now got 7 KOs in his 8 fights. He wins this fight, which was for the WBA gold title. He retains his Commonwealth title, Stiverne representing Canada, even though he's originally from Haiti. So keeps that strap as well as this new gold title, which was an eliminator for the WBA regular title. So Joe Joyce's route, potentially for the next year or so, is mapped out in the WBA. We'll have to see what happens here. But this fight, very entertaining in spots. Joyce dominant throughout. By the end, Stiverne, well actually it was by about the 3rd round, Stiverne was a walking heavy bag. And Stiverne showed some real heart in this fight, some durability, which he didn't show against Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder whipped through him in a round with some of his power shots, but he showed some heart, showed something in this fight, and he came out swinging in that 1st round, obviously believing that his countering Joyce would be his best way for a win here. He really threw the kitchen sink at Joyce in that 1st round, as did Joyce. It was an action-packed 1st round, a real barnstormer, and Joyce was taking Stiverne's counters, a number of them, quite a few of them, but he took them quite well. Stiverne, after the 1st round, he was started to slow down a bit. He was hurt several times in round 2. He didn't go down, but he was visibly hurt at times. Joyce was coming forward. He was patient, but he was throwing really nice combinations. The jab was working well. He was rocking Stiverne's head back early and often, and that was a theme throughout the fight. By round 3, Stiverne's hands were coming down. He wasn't defending himself that well, and he wasn't really throwing much back. And he was caught with a flurry of shots, and then that was followed up by a really nice right hand, which dropped Stiverne to the ropes. He was sort of caught by the mid-rope, but it was ruled a knockdown. He was given a count, and it looked for all money that could potentially end in that round, but he showed good durability to get through the round. There was a lot of time remaining in that round, but it was at this point as well, Joyce himself, because he was coming forward throwing a lot of punches in this fight. There was a huge volume of punches from Joyce, and he was taking shots himself, but he started to slow down a little bit, and he kind of got into a rhythm between part of round 3 right through to round 5 and into round 6, where he was pacing himself a bit more. He wasn't just trying to throw heavy leather, he was trying to set up his work. The jab was coming in well, the combinations were good, and Stiverne was, throughout this period, through the back half of the fight, really was a walking heavy bag. He didn't throw many punches. He was moving around, and he tried to show a little bit of head movement at time, but for the most part, Joyce was really tagging him, tattooing his face, working him to the body. He was showing some good variation of punches. The uppercut was coming in. He was landing left hooks, sort of right hands, good straight right. That straight right does look like it's improving. And Joyce really was varying his work, varying his punches, and he was responding to the instruction from Abel Sanchez in the corner. Obviously thinking, well, Bermane Stiverne's taken some of my best early on. I better not punch myself out here, because in that early period of the fight, there was a risk that Joyce, potentially could punch himself out. And I think it was the back end of round 2. He did look a little bit tired there, and the punches were slowing down a little bit, even though they were still coming. But that round 6, there was a flurry of punches. There was a left hook, uppercut, about 5 or 6 blows, and the referee, Howard Foster, comes in, stops the fight. Stiverne, he doesn't really protest it. So this is the sort of moment of the stoppage on screen. And this is what Stiverne's face looked like afterwards. And I imagine the swelling is going to come up, and he is going to look not very pretty in the morning when he wakes up, because he really did take a beating. He gave it actually quite a good effort. That 1st round, he was really throwing some hard right hands, in particular, trying to catch Joyce on the counter, and he had some success, but Joyce really ate those punches punches didn't seem to affect him to any real degree, but it does show that Joe Joyce is open. He can be hit. He was caught a couple of times, mostly by right hands in this fight. There was the odd left hook that Stiverne landed, but after about the third round, Stiverne, his offense just completely fell away. And I said from the beginning that when this fight was made that this was a bit of a mismatch, and to an extent, it proved that way because Stiverne really only had one round in him, and after that, it was all downhill. His durability got him through to round 6. There wasn't much of an effort after that first round from Bermane Stiverne, except beyond, blocking punches with his face. Although, to give him his credit, he performed better than many expected, including myself. I was predicting that this would end, in under 3 rounds. It could have potentially happened if Joyce had turned it up a bit more, had a bit more success, but Stiverne, to his credit, was able to push on and get through that. So Joyce defends his Commonwealth title. He gets that WBA gold title, which was also, this fight was an eliminator, so he's looking at Manuel Charr, trying to line him up potentially for later in the year, trying to go that route and fight Charr. So we'll have to see what happens now, but overall I was relatively impressed with Joe Joyce for a number of reasons. Patience was one of them. He does look to be improving. It wasn't just, swarming effort. As soon as he realized that he had to pace himself a bit, that he was going to have to work for this win, he was able to adjust in the ring, and he wasn't putting everything behind some of his punches. Like, he was trying to set up his work. It was, soft, hard. There was a bit of that, and we haven't seen as much of that in previous Joe Joyce fights where it's kind of just been hard punches. So there was a bit of evolution in his game, I thought at least, and some of his technique, it looks better. Some of the punches are a bit more crisp. The right hand is looking better. The left hook is getting better as well. The jab was working well as well, rocking Stiverne's head back. A lot of power in that punch, and he was able to get off a lot of work from that jab, set up some of his power punching from that. So overall, I thought it was a decent effort from Joe Joyce. Stiverne, to his credit, he was more durable, but I guess to play devil's advocate here for a minute, you could say that, for a target that was effectively stationary for much of the time, able to, not a lot of head movement, Joyce was able to get off his work at will. Should Joe Joyce have done better at times to potentially end Stiverne earlier? He does have a history, though, of being relatively durable, Bermane Stiverne, but this version of Bermane Stiverne, even though they said the best version of Stiverne was coming to this fight, it clearly wasn't. He's faded, completely rinsed. He's 40 years old, been completely inactive. He should retire. There was some talk from Stiverne after the weigh-in that he'd sort of manipulated his weight, apparently had something, in his pants or whatever to make him weigh in heavier. Not sure I really believe that, because have a look at this on screen here. So I made this graphic up, put it up on Twitter. This is a comparison from Bermane Stiverne's recent fights. So 2015 Wilder the first time, 2017 Wilder the second time, and Joe Joyce on the right. This is the difference in weight. So 239, 254, 273. Even if he had some weight on him and that put some pounds on, he still looks in worse shape than he did 18 months ago when he fought Deontay Wilder. So I don't know. Stiverne, he didn't really show much in this fight, and I do hope that he does retire, because I'm not sure what's left for him in the heavyweight division beyond taking beatings like this, because he became a walking heavy bag after the second round. Had a good first round, threw some punches, that was action-packed, but after that, it was all downhill from round 3 onwards. He really took a battering. And Joe Joyce, for the most part, was patient. His combinations were good. I liked what I saw. I could see that there's some improvement here with Joe Joyce. How far can he go? Well, it remains to be seen. Some other guys, especially who are more in their prime, who are better counter punchers than Bermane Stiverne, well, maybe more powerful punchers at this point in their careers compared to a faded Stiverne, a counter puncher is going to have some success against Joyce, because even in that first round, Stiverne, with his limited success, he was able to catch Joyce a number of times, and that's got to be a concern. But I did like what I saw for the most part from Joe Joyce. He advances to 8-0. What did you make of this performance? How do you rate what he did and how he did it? I think overall it's definitely a pass mark, especially this guy at 33. He's in his prospect phase. They're looking to accelerate it. This was, many said it was his toughest fight to date. I'm not so convinced about this. I mean, you look at some of the other opponents, I think they gave him some different looks and angles. Stiverne gave him one round of good action. After that, it was kind of really all downhill. Anyway, drop a comment. loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.